Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NFL Preseason Monday Night Football edition. Not something you see every week, but here we are. We get the Commanders and the Bengals taking each other on. I think this game's in DC. Yep. So it's a preseason game. It's Showdown Slate. It is what it is. It's volatile as heck, but it can be a lot of fun. I cashed in the Showdown Slate yesterday with Ian Wheeler as my captain. That worked out really nicely. Unfortunately, I also had the Bills defense, and they got negative points. So that will happen. So I went from a potential takedown to just cashing. And that's just the nature of the beast. So in Showdown, we just want to try a lot of different things. If we're entering a lot of lineups, if we're going to enter a single entry, we want to play probably one of the top cash game plays in the captain and then get different in the flex, or just slide the top, chalky play into the flex and try to hit somebody else in the captains. That's just a general strategy we can look at. I think it's, you can get a lot deeper into that when you get into like regular season where we actually can feel confident about the guys that we're using. That's not really the case here. It just is what it is. Even the biggest names are only going to play a little bit, and then you have the rest of the guys just kind of spread out. So what I'm going to do is just kind of walk through who we can probably rely on the most, and then also touch on a few kind of ancillary plays beyond that. And of course, if you want locked-in plays, my favorite plays of all the options, you can hit up our Patreon and Discord for just $5.99 a month and get access to that. I have a full write-up on that already, ready to rock. I'm just doing this video for more of a general free overview of this Showdown slate. If this video does help you in any way, if you like videos like this where we walk through the slate, kind of highlight top plays, and just add a little bit of nuance to the slate, give me a like on this video and also subscribe to the channel. Both those things help us out quite a bit. Totally understandable if you don't want to dive in, if you're new to the channel for the Patreon Discord, but it is pretty nice and it covers everything, not just NFL DFS. It covers NFL, NBA, WNBA, MMA, MLB, all of our picks and write-ups for those DFS genres. And of course, you get access to our Discord as well, which is really cool. Nice growing community in there. All right, let's get to it. So right off the bat, well, you know for sure that the starters for both sides are expected to play. I mean, I'll get to more as far as like a little bit of nuance there because not every starter is going to play. But we know that Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, all the main guys for the Bengals for sure are in. The guys that are not in include Mike Gesicki, Zach Ertz, Terry McLaurin, because he just came off the PUP list. He's got his holdout thing going on. He's not going to play in this game. Zach Ertz is resting. I feel like Noah Brown, who's like their number 3 technically right now, I feel like he's also going to rest. So that is just going to open up a little bit more, playing time and potential usage for some of these other guys behind those dudes. For Cincinnati, Jermaine Burton is not going to play. He's a little bit banged up, so that means not really an impact for the top guys like Chase and Higgins, but it does mean that we could see a little bit more time for some of the guys behind him. And maybe, somebody like Andre Iosavis is going to get a little bit more work as the wide receiver 3. I mean, he is the wide receiver 3 anyways above Burton. But Burton's been playing well enough that you could argue that he could be, in line to take that spot. But not today. And then obviously some other guys, it's going to trickle down and they're going to get a little bit more exposure, throughout the rest of the game. Mike Gesicki is also not going to play in this game. Bengals top tight end. They did just sign Noah Fant, so he could end up playing a good amount or not at all or be limited, unknown, because he's a new player. Obviously, they signed him because they have plans to use him. They could easily just not play him a ton and keep him ready for the regular season. But you could certainly argue that it makes sense to get him acclimated a little bit, get him some reps with the first team offense. So if he starts, I would imagine he's going to be out there for as long as the starters. So we could get 2 to 3 drives out of Noah Fant, and that would be fine. That would make him viable. So as we go down here, Brian Robinson Jr. is another interesting one to consider because there are trade rumors swirling around him right now. So on one hand, they could just sit him or keep him very limited because if they're going to trade him, you don't want to injure the product that you're selling to people, right? At the same time, on the other hand, they might want to, this might be a showcase game. This might be a game where they give Brian Thomas Jr. a bunch of reps to show like, oh, these are all the things he can do. And it's just not be like, whoever wants to grab him, they're going off of just last year's tape or whatever. So get some fresh tape and show that he can be productive to boost his draft value, but that could obviously work the other way around if he gets like 4 carries for -2 yards or something, or fumbles twice or something crazy, right? So keep an eye on that situation. If he does start, I do have interest in him because obviously that would then open things up to a showcase game, and that would give him a decent amount of volume, and he'd be one of the better plays of the slate. Still risky, though, for the reasons I already said. If he is out, then the Commanders running back room gets a little bit more appealing. It already is because there's some really good young backs that we should be excited about there. I think there's another one for Washington that's another running back that is banged up. Oh, yeah, it's Krosky Merritt, who I am very high on in general. Very nice stash play in Dynasty. Very nice late round flyer in redraft, just because the Brian Robinson situation. But Krosky Merritt is dealing with a shoulder injury. So if he plays, then he's a good play, just because he's still trying to earn that spot. And if they are going to trade Brian Robinson Jr., then you would imagine this dude, the 7th round pick, who they really like, who's looked really good, would have a chance to kind of unseat him as he goes out. But obviously, if he's not 100%, he might be a little bit limited or just not play at all. So just keep an eye on that situation. So that's kind of it for the top guys as far as like who's like for sure going to play. Now, both sides look to get about 2 to 3 series here. We could always get a little bit more. We could always get a little bit less. They're just going to be risky. It is what it is. In limited action, Joe Burrow had like 12 fantasy points in the last game for Cincinnati, and Jamar Chase had 17. So those guys can hit in a very short amount of time. So absolutely in a showdown slate, I am definitely into all the main guys here. Burrow, Chase, Chase Brown, Jaden Daniels on the other side, Deebo Samuel. As long as these guys play, I think they're really good plays because it's one game. If this was like a 3 to 6 game slate and we only were going to get like about a quarter max of all these dudes, they wouldn't be very high on my radar because, as we know, playing time and when we look at NBA DFS minutes are currency. We want guys who are actually going to be out there a lot. As good as a player might be, 1/4 of the best player typically isn't going to be as good as 2 to 3/4 of a much worse player, just because you're going to get that volume or those touches or red zone opportunities that the other guy just might not get. But Chase is a different story. In particular, for a one-game setting, Chase can take one touch to the house. So Chase is always going to be in play. Burrow has all these weapons coming off a 43 touchdown season, and their defense is horrible. So even in preseason, like they're just going to be looking to kind of ramp up and get ready for this fast pace style where they know going in they have to put up points. So Burrow stacks with T, and you can look at the other Bengals guys, Chase Brown, and then with Gesicki out, maybe Fant, maybe Tanner, Drew Sample. Like, I don't love the tight end situation with Cincinnati with Fant included there, but you can certainly do that. One way to maybe leverage a little bit of that, because Jamar Chase is probably going to be the highest owned player on a showdown slate, is if you're going to stack with Burrow, maybe consider going a little bit heavier on T. T was not very involved in the first game, whereas Chase was the guy they went to early and often, 4 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. I would not be that shocked for them to kind of lean the other way and be like, yeah, we know we have Chase. We got it going in week 1. That connection's ready to rock. Let's go get T. Higgins involved. So I am just personally assuming the ownership's on Chase. And with everybody going there, I'm going to zig where everybody's zagging, and I'm going to be heavier on T. Higgins and hoping that T gets a touchdown or just gets a little bit more volume with the limited time they're out there. And at the same time, you don't have to play Burrow if you're going to play T or if you're going to play Chase. You don't have to stack on a showdown slate necessarily because there are other options here. You got Jake Brown in behind Joe Burrow. On the other side, you do have Jaden Daniels. You don't have to play 2 quarterbacks on a preseason showdown slate where they're not playing the whole game. And then you also have the guys behind Jaden Daniels with Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman. Marcus Mariota probably isn't going to play in this game. So that's probably what we're looking at, like the best options, Browning, Hartman, and Johnson. Do I feel really good about any of them? Not really. I think if we're going to get almost a quarter of Burrow and Daniels, I would probably just play one of them for sure, and then maybe consider pairing them together. I do think you're looking at potential leverage if you go get Browning instead of Burrow and just hope that Burrow just doesn't blow up the slate in 2 to 3 drives, or Browning is just like super successful, so he just does a little bit better at way less ownership. Or on the other side, like if I had to guess, if Daniels is only going to play a quarter, Josh Johnson's like almost 40, and he's played in the league a ton as a backup. Like they don't need to see him a lot. So I would think Sam Hartman's got a pretty good chance of playing like the entire second half. It's possible. So if that were to happen, like closing out the slate with Sam Hartman as like a GPP captain play or just in the flex, like I don't think he's going to be super owned. So I think that's pretty interesting. Risky, like it's definitely a low floor move, but in terms of getting leverage on an otherwise potentially chalky build, especially if you are going to already play Chase, Chase Brown, T, Burrow, like whatever, I think somebody like Hartman is really interesting way to close things out. All right, so that kind of tackles the main guys for Cincinnati. Like if you want to go get Chase Brown, I'm fine with that. Just running backs in general, all preseason long, have been very difficult to hit if they're like in like a tiny isolated area in terms of like how much they play. Like even if we knew like a guy's going to play like an entire half, like still don't hit. Like they're going to get their carries, but it's just like the offensive line play isn't always as good. The talent of these running backs isn't always as good. But Chase Brown is talented. I'm very high on Chase Brown, like in every possible format. He's a steal still in round 3 in redraft. He is a buy in Dynasty, a buy and a hold for me. And going into the regular season for DFS, love him just as much. So here we are. If we're going to get 2 to 3 drives of Chase Brown, he catches balls out of the backfield. He's very explosive, and he's a factor in the red zone. I like him. I don't see any problem with that. Leverage there is obviously just Taj Brooks. He's the top backup. You do have P. Ryan there too. Just don't really know how he's going to factor into it. Not that excited to play P. Ryan because he's more of a PPR back. Like he's there. You could play him if you want to. I'd just be more inclined to play Brooks. But Brown and Brooks are going to be owned on this slate. So make of that what you will. But certainly in play. Taj Brooks it's like the first time we played Taj Brooks, he didn't play that much. Like he played a decent amount, but he just like, he didn't play a crazy amount. Then this last game he played, I think he had 10 carries or something. But the point is, Brooks looks like a mighty fine play. Don't have a problem with that. Not super interested in anybody else at running back for Cincinnati as we go deeper there. At wide receiver, I already mentioned Iosavis. And then another guy that I do like quite a bit is Charlie Jones, especially with Jermaine Burton out. Jones should see a lot of extra playing time, could see some time on special teams. So he is a candidate to potentially kind of filter in with the first unit just because they're lacking that other body. And he could also end up seeing playing time in the second half of this game. So he is interesting. And then at tight end, I think we were talking about that for Cincinnati. So moving over to the Washington side, got to keep an eye on the status for Brian Robinson Jr. If he's in, you can play him. If he's out, then we're looking at Austin Eckler. Like he's an old beard. He's a gray beard. We can play him if Brian Robinson Jr. is out and Eckler starts and he's there with the starters and they're playing 2 to 3 series. Like you can play Eckler, good PPR guy, good red zone guy. I think he'd be in play. He just is like 31 years old, and especially if they're trading their top back, I would imagine they'd kind of want to keep Eckler, protected. So definitely goes both ways. A little bit risky, but at the same time, if he's out there, I think he'd be viable. And then if who's the other? I forgot his name. Yeah, Krosky Merritt. If he is not going to play, then guys like Jeremy McNichols, although another older guy that might not get a ton of run, Christian Rodriguez, and then Kashmir Allen, very speedy rookie. He is very, very interesting. It just depends on who's out there and how long we think they're going to play. Like he is very, very interesting as far as like a guy in the second half of this game that could blow up for us. But like they have like 5 or 6 running backs. Seriously, it's like insane. So it just depends who starts and how much they're going to play. But all those guys are on the table 100%. The wide receiver, there's going to be no Scary Terry. So I would imagine Deebo Samuel starts. Let me see if there's any news here on his thing. Where is he? Good old Deebo Samuel. No actual confirmed news. And I was looking before, it didn't see that he was not going to play. So as long as he's in, I like him for 2 or 3 series. Don't mind that one bit. At tight end, I would imagine with no Zach Ertz, he is resting along with Noah Brown. We should see a good amount of Ben Sinnott. Second-year player, was a total bust last year, did nothing, but he's a big body, nice athlete, you would think, like, in terms of just raw physical attributes, you would think he would have success in the NFL. So with no Ertz, like he could end up starting. They could actually start Bates ahead of him, and that's fine. Either way, I would imagine Sanat would have a chance to sprinkle in with the ones, and then he would also get extra work just because he's still a raw product that has not really been productive. But I like him a lot, like still for Dynasty, so I am excited to play him in this game. And I don't really even think, especially since he might not actually start, I don't think his ownership is going to be egregious. So I think he's a good stacking option with Jaden Daniels. At wide receiver, then we also have, for Washington, we have Luke McCaffrey, nice big-bodied athletic receiver for the Commanders. With no McLaurin, he's going to get some time with the ones, and just because he's still working and fighting for a roster spot / maybe that number 3 role, like competing to leapfrog Noah Brown, I would imagine he'd get a good amount of work in this game. KJ Osborne for Washington, but honestly, the other guy's going to be Jalen Lane. He is getting some snaps with the first team offense earlier in training camp. Talented rookie. He could easily get past Luke McCaffrey and or Noah Brown if he has a strong showing here. I'd imagine he'd play deep into this game. And then they just have some other dudes, Demetric Felton, Michael Gallup, like these other dudes. Michael Gallup even still in there. He was banged up earlier in training camp, but I mean, if these guys are going to play, we can certainly give them a shot, no doubt about it. But for the most part, I'm looking at a pretty starter-heavy core for the Showdown slate, just because those are the guys we know are going to play, and a quarter from those guys, given how explosive they can be. And by the way, this game is like a 43.5 total. So for a preseason game, and considering the defenses aren't very good to begin with, like we could get a lot of production in just one quarter. So I do like that, but hopefully we have enough other, like you can't say value because everybody's the same price, but another like second or third tier guys here in Kashmir Allen or Ben Sinnott or Charlie Jones, Taj Brooks, those kind of guys that we can kind of mix it up. And I would just really lean into the idea where like we can definitely eat some of this starter chalk, but just mix up what we're doing, especially if you're doing a lot of lineups. Just don't have Chase as your captain everywhere. Maybe leverage that with T. Higgins, or go get one of these kind of under the radar guys, or even like Sam Hartman, like I was talking about before. Like, do I feel great about Sam Hartman? No, but I do feel good about the logic of him getting some good playing time in the second half and being like completely unowned and possibly helping out quite a bit. All right, that's going to do it for me. If you want to have my finalized top plays that I like the most, you can hit up Patreon, Discord, get access to that, as well as everything else we do. Taylor's going to be popping out MLB, DFS pitcher picks, and stacks for tonight's MLB slate. So you can also check that out. If you just want to watch the videos like this and you want to see more of them, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and good luck.